Good morning, everyone. My name is Jill, and I am the Training and Education Manager here at Vertical Response. Today, I'm going to demo our survey product. This demo is about 40 minutes long, and at the end, I'll be happy to answer any questions that anyone has. Feel free to type those in the GoToWebinar window. You should see a box for questions in there, and I'll answer any questions anyone has at the end. So with that, let's go ahead and get started with surveys. So this is our survey page. Hopefully you're somewhat familiar with a vertical response account. You can access the surveys from the blue navigation bar, and then you can click on New to start one or go into the drafts or live surveys or even closed surveys if you want to take a look at some of the statistics after your survey is over. So let me go ahead and just jump right into creating a new survey, and I'll go through some of the things that you can do with our survey tool. I'm going to click New Survey, and this is going to put me into the workflow where I can create my new survey. So the first thing to do is give the survey a name. Just like when you're creating an email, this is something that only you are going to see. Nobody else is going to see this. So call it whatever works best for you. You can also put some descriptions in here, especially if you're doing multiple surveys, to keep track of what the survey is about and what type of information you're trying to collect. You have two options to get started with the surveys. You can start with a blank survey. So if you have an idea of what type of questions you want to ask and how to use the product, you can start from scratch and just add boxes of questions to create the type of survey that you want to use. We also have templates already set up for you. So if you want to start with something where we've already created the questions, and these are real questions, these aren't just filler questions. We used someone outside of our company to help write the questions for the surveys to make sure that they collected the type of information that most people are looking for when they're using different survey tools. Every question on the survey may not pertain to exactly the information that you're trying to collect, but for the most part, they should be something that will be useful for your survey. So we have different categories, and you can go through the different categories and see what's in there, and you can even preview the different templates that are available. We also have some organization and event planning, and you can go through again and take a look at the templates that are available. There's about 20 of them in here that you can use. Once you select the template that you're going to start with, you can set up what type of survey that you're going to have. So the first option is traditional, and this means you'll be able to see who is filling in the survey and the responses to the questions. The other option is blindfold, which means everyone who takes the survey will be set up as an anonymous participant, and so you're not going to know who is answering the questions in the way they're being answered. But this is probably a great way for you to be able to get more honest feedback from the people who are participating in your survey. This might be a good thing if you're doing an employee feedback type of survey, something that's internal where you want people to be as honest as possible. So you just want to make sure you select the type of survey that you want to use. I'm going to set up traditional. And then you can select who's going to participate. So you can have both invited and anonymous participants. So that means you can send an email to invite people who are on your mailing list or a portion of your mailing list to take the survey. But you can also invite people who aren't in your mailing list to take the survey. So if you take this selection, our system is going to give you a URL for your survey, and you can add that to a website or a blog and have people take your survey from there. And that's why it's anonymous, because those are people you're not going to know until you get to the end. So as long as you've set up your survey as traditional, at the end of the survey they can enter their name and email address, and you can collect that information. You'll be able to see who is answering from your website. The other option is only invited participants. So these would only be people who you sent an email to through your vertical response account. You wouldn't be able to invite anyone outside of that email. And it just depends on the type of information that you're trying to collect. If you're looking for information. For instance, if you have a new product in your company and you want to get some honest feedback from people, you might want to do invited and anonymous participants so you can get more feedback. If you're doing a survey for an organization that you work at and you're taking, for instance, nominations for posts, you probably want to keep that as only invited participants. So it kind of depends on the type of information that you're planning on collecting, which one you're going to go with. And then we can also send out notifications. So after somebody completes the survey, we'll be able to send an email to let you know that you have some new results in your survey, and you can come and take a look at it. So you can set this up however often you want to be notified. So it could be never, hourly, daily, or weekly. Hourly might be a lot, especially if you're mailing to a lot of people. So it's going to depend how many people you're sending to and how many responses you're going to get as to how frequently you want to be notified by our system. And then you can enter the email address where you want those alerts sent to. The other thing that this will work for are question alerts, which I'll show you in just a minute what a question alert is. So if you set that up, you want to make sure that you have the notification set up on this page. And then at the bottom of the page here is the exit redirect. So once somebody's finished your survey, they get to a page that says, thank you for participating, and then there's a link they can click on to exit the survey, or after however many seconds you set up over here, so 5 is the default, they'll be redirected to whatever website you put in here. Now this one says vertical response because that's what's set up in my account, but you would put whatever URL you want. So you could have them go to a particular page on your website that thanks them for participating in your survey and maybe giving a little more information about the survey. If you're offering an incentive for the survey, that'd be a great place to give them the information about how to get that incentive. So you can put whatever URL you want in here. So I'm going to go ahead and click Next, which is going to save this setup for me. And then I'm going to be able to jump into the questions that have been set up and make whatever edits. So there's kind of 3 sections on this page to setting up your survey. So first of all, you can change how the survey looks. So these are some basic things over here in the left side. You can have the pages of your survey numbered. By default it's on, and you can see I have my pages numbered. You can also add a progress bar. And again, by default the progress bar is on. This is probably a good thing to leave on so that your participants know how close they are to getting to the end of the survey. People like to be able to see that, so that would be a great thing to keep on. But like I said, it's just something that we give you, and you certainly don't have to have the progress bar in there. And you could also add a logo. So right now there's no logo on my survey. But if you have one set up in your library, so something maybe that you've been using in your email campaigns, you can also use that in your survey. So I'm going to click Select. It's going to open up my media library. And I can go ahead and select my logo. So now you can see each page has my logo. And then if I wanted to, I could match my background color to my logo or maybe to something on my website so that everything matches. If you know what color you want to use, you can just type that in there. Or we have a color picker, and you can just select whatever color you want to use. So that sort of goes with my logo there. You can also change the colors and the fonts for the rest of the email. So if I wanted to have links in my survey, I can change the link color. You can also change the question fonts. So these would be the, let's get down here, the questions. And you can change what that looks like. So you can have a different color. You can change, go ahead and do that. You can change what your text looks like. So there I've changed it to Georgia. You can make it bigger or smaller. And you can also change the answer fonts as well. Let me go ahead and change my background color here to white. Because that pink color is kind of annoying. So you have some options on setting up your survey in here. The other thing on the left-hand side of the page is list data collection. Now, since the type of survey I set up is traditional, I'll be able to see who is taking my survey. If it's somebody who is not on my mailing list, if I add a link to my website, those people will have the option at the end of the survey to enter their contact information. So they could be, you could ask them to sign up to be on your mailing list with this information, or just contact the information if you have any questions about the survey. So you'll be able to set whatever information you want to collect there from this left-hand side over here. So we have some default fields set up. These are like the basic fields that you would normally need, your first name, last name, email address, postal information. But you can also add some custom fields in here. So if there's something a little more specific that you would like to collect, you can certainly add that to your survey. And then the main part of this page is going to be the actual survey and the questions that are involved. So there's numerous pages on this particular survey that I selected. And there's different ways to manage this. As you noticed earlier when I was showing you the list collection data, I had to scroll quite a bit down this page to get there. But you can easily make it a little bit shorter. So what I could do is click on this drop down up here and go to contact information, and that's all I'm going to see on the page is that particular question or that particular page. So this is my page number 5 and all the questions that are on that page. And then I can go back to all my pages. You can also condense the view if you want to see all of the pages. And what this does is hides all the answers, which can make for a pretty long page. This is still quite a few questions, but the answers have been condensed to make it a little bit easier to navigate on this page. So you can kind of set this page up to make it a little bit easier for you to do the editing and setting up of your survey. So it's very easy to come in here and make some changes to the questions that we've already set up for you in the survey. So you can just click on this particular question. And let's go ahead and change this to... So you can just easily come in here and type. I'll click Save, and that's going to save the title. And then just clicking in here gives me the option to add more to the question that's already in here or edit it. You can even add an image and do some basic editing, bolding, italicizing, things like that. And that's just kind of the greeting page for your survey. The rest of these pages are actual questions. So you can come through here and edit all of these if you would like to. And you can click on the pencil on here, and you'll be able to come in here and make edits. So you would be able to add a different answer to these questions. What are the challenges that your company faces? And even add more answers if the 4 that we've set up aren't enough. And you can just click on the link and it'll keep adding more. Now you'll notice as I'm mousing that there's quite a few little icons that are popping up over here. So you can move the answers based on these little green arrows. So if I wanted to move this up, I can do that. You can see challenge 2 is there. I can move it down. And then I can also hide it. That's what this little eye is. So if I'm not sure about having this as an answer in my survey, I can hide it. And the great thing about the survey is that even once it's gone live, you'll be able to go in and make some edits to your survey. So if you decided that one of the answers that you had hidden is actually one that you want to use, you can come back in and toggle it back to something that's visible. The other thing that you can see as an icon here is this little bell. And this is the alert that I mentioned on the first page when you're setting up your email. So not only can we notify you when somebody finishes taking the survey, we can also notify you if somebody answers one of your questions in a particular way. And what happens is that we'll just send you an email as soon as somebody picks this as the answer to this question. This is something that would be really great if you were doing a survey. For instance, if you were doing a customer support type of survey and somebody answered a question and said they had poor support, maybe you want to get in touch with that person and find out what happened with their interaction. And you could also do that in the opposite. Maybe somebody says they had a really fantastic experience with your customer support. And you might want to get in touch with that person as well and find out who they worked with. Maybe you can get a quote that you could use on your website. Something like that. So the answers that people take for the question or give for the questions can be something that's very important for your survey. Generally, when you're setting up a survey, you have some kind of goal in mind. And so if somebody answers in a particular way, you might just want to know right away that somebody's answering like that. Or for instance, this is if you were doing an event survey, if somebody answered that yes, they were definitely coming, you might want to have an alert set up for that so that you know how many people are saying that yes, they're going to be at your event. So you can also set up where people can have an other option. So they can come in here and add specific information if your answers don't work for them. You can make the questions required, and so when they're actually reading the question, they're going to have a little red asterisk next to it, which means they have to answer it. I wouldn't make every question on your survey required. That could cause people to drop out of taking your survey if they have to answer every single question. So you want to make sure that you use this on the ones that are the most important questions for your survey, the questions that are going to give you the answers to the reason that you're having your survey. So whatever the goal is for your survey, if somebody needs to take specific questions, make sure those are required, but don't do that for all of them. And you could also offer a comment box as well if you want people to be able to add a longer comment as an answer to your question. So I'm going to go ahead and click Save Question, and it's going to save all the changes that I made. And now you can also see the red asterisk because I made this a required question, and this is the question or the answer that I hid, so you can see that it's hidden from here. You could also add your own questions. So if there's information in here that you're trying to gather and we're not giving you that particular answer or question, you can go ahead and click the Insert here. And this is going to set up a new question for you. You would also be able to do this if you chose not to use one of our templates, but instead chose to set it up yourself, starting from scratch. So you'd be able to come in and create your questions using these 6 options. So there's multiple choice. This is where people would be able to have one answer to your question, but they'll have different options to give. Multiple answer, where they would be able to have more than one answer to your question. So something where you could say, check all that apply. So you'd be able to get feedback on different answers. Single rating, where you'll be able to set up a question and people can rate one item. And then you could also do multiple rating, where you have one question and then you can ask people to rate multiple things. So maybe if you're having some new products come out, ask people what features they're looking for. So you could say, how important would this feature be? How important would this other feature be? And then just have them rate those. If you're doing an event type of survey, you could ask people to rate what type of activities they would like to participate during your event. And then you could take the ones that were the most popular in the rating. And also, even if you're sending out a follow-up survey after an event, you could have people rate the different activities that they participated in, or even the different types of speakers that you offered at your event. You would be able to have people rate different options in there. You can set up a priority list. So this would be where people could rate things based on, you could have a set number, 4 or 5 things, and then they would rate them 1 through 5, what's the most important for them. And then you can also have just a free response box where people will be able to type in whatever information you are asking them to give you. And you can also add a comment block where you could put just some information for them. So for instance, if you had a new product coming out, you wanted people to take a look at what the product was, then you'd be able to add some information, and then on the next page maybe ask some questions about the product that they were looking at. And you can also split up your page with a break. So if you have quite a few questions on a page, you could split it up using this page break. So let's go ahead and take a look at the single rating question. I'm not sure there's one of those in this particular template. So let's set it up the way the sample is in here. How would you rate our customer service? And then you can set up the answers in there. And again, you still have the same options on all of the questions that I showed you earlier. You can move them around, you can hide them, and you can set up an alert. Again, you can make this a required question or not, and you can add an additional text comment box if you want people to comment on the question. So let me go ahead and save the question. And here's what the single rating looks like. So people would be able to come in here and click on a box and then say this is their answer. Again, you can also do the multiple rating one where they have a variety of things. And this is where they can rate things 1 through 4. And this is one of the text boxes. So they could type in information that you want to collect. So once you've set up the questions that you want to ask your participants and you think your survey is ready to go, you can go ahead and click Next. And that's going to save all your work, all of the questions that you've set up, and move you on into the launching process of your survey. So it's a fairly easy thing to set up, especially since we already have templates that have a lot of questions in them that you can easily go in and edit. Like I said, some of the questions may not exactly pertain to your particular needs, so you can easily delete those questions if you don't want them or edit them to make them more useful for you. But it gives you a good starting point, just like using any of the templates for setting up an email, for instance. As I also mentioned earlier, you want to make sure when you're creating a survey that you have a specific goal in mind so that your questions are leading your participants to give you the answers that you're really looking for. So you want to make sure that you're thinking about what it is that you want to ask, what type of questions you want to have, and what type of answers you want to have. And then you want to pare down the questions that you've come up with to the best ones. The reason that I'm saying this is that the longer your survey is, the more likely people are going to drop out along the way. So you want to try to make sure that it's a fairly quick process, and maybe after you do an initial survey to get some feedback, if there's some more specific information you want, you can ask the participants another survey with a few more questions. Also, if your survey is going to take longer than about 5 to 10 minutes to finish, so again, if you have a somewhat longer survey, you might want to add some kind of an incentive. So maybe give them a promo code so that when they make a purchase at your site or in your store, if you have like a brick and mortar store, they would be able to get a discount for taking the survey. You might want to provide a gift card, maybe like a coffee card or something for people who finish the survey. I recently had a survey that was sent to me, and by completing the survey, everybody who completed it was entered in a drawing for some of the products that this company offered. That was also a nice incentive as well to finish the survey. It wasn't a super long one, though. So just something that will keep your respondents answering your survey and get them all the way through. And that was one of the things I mentioned when you were setting up the survey, that you can redirect people to another page on your website. So you might set up a special page on your website for the people who complete the survey to give them maybe the promo code if that's what you're going to offer them, or additional information since they took the survey for you. And once you have everything set up, you need to take a test, or test it, sorry. You need to test your survey. Just like when you send your emails, you have to test your emails. You have to test your survey. The only way you can launch it is if you go through and answer your questions, make sure everything looks good. And just like in an email, you can share this information. Oops, I didn't answer the one that's required. And this is the one that I hid answer number 2, so you can see that's missing on that particular one. So I'm just going to hit this so that I can get through. This is the contact page, and then the final thank you page. So just like an email, you can send additional people in your company, for instance, a test link so they can test it out for you, make sure everything looks good, that you're asking the type of questions that you want, and that you don't have any typos or anything like that. So it's great to have another set of eyes on your survey before you launch it. So I'm going to go ahead and click Next. So now that it's been tested and set up, I have a couple options from this page. I can invite people to come and take my survey, or I can set it live. You don't have to set it live right away. Everything that's been set up on your survey has been saved at this point. So if you wanted to set it up but then launch it at a later date, you can certainly do that. You can just come in and click Go Live whenever you're ready to take your survey live. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. And so now my survey is ready to go, and I can send out invitations. There's a tab here for me to send out invitations for people to take it. Or if I wanted to add a URL to my website or a link to my website, this is the URL that you would want to use. Be sure that you're using this particular link to take your survey. Don't use anything from the test survey. That is just a test, and the information that's collected from that survey will not give you the specific information you would get from a live survey. So don't use the test URL. Use this one once it's gone live. So if you wanted to send out invitations, it works just like sending any email in the vertical response system. Our system will kind of walk you through and set up some survey templates for you to make it a little bit easier to send out your email, but you can certainly make any edits that you want. So it's giving me my name for my email already. It's the invitation to the name of my survey. And then you can use Wizard or Canvas. We have templates set up for surveys in both of these. So I'm going to go ahead and click Next. And this is going to drop me right into setting up an email. So this is one of the survey templates. If I click Change Layout, I can come in here and find Survey Invitations and change my template if I want to change it to something different. And it's kind of a brief email. I would generally recommend, if you're sending out a specific invitation to take the survey, that your survey email be fairly brief. You can certainly include the link in like a normal monthly newsletter if you want to send that out with it. But I would probably also recommend that you take the that you send out a specific survey email as well. The only reason I suggest that is I have seen where people have included a link at the bottom of a very long email. And if it's a long email, people don't always make it to the bottom, so they might miss your survey link. So you want to make sure if you want people to fill in your survey that you're giving them plenty of opportunity to see that it's available. So if you send them a specific email inviting them to take it, that's one opportunity for them to do it. But then you can still include it in other emails that you're sending out for maybe monthly notices that you send out or newsletters or whatever other email communications you have. So it's very easy to set up the link to your survey as well in the emails. And again, you don't have to use the survey templates if you don't want to. So click wherever it is that you want your link to be. And then if you click this Insert dropdown, the very first option in here is Survey Link. And the system's going to pull up all of your surveys that you have that are live. And you can go through and select whichever one it is that you want to send an email about. And then you can also set up what you want your link text to say, although you can change it to something else if you want it to be something else. Click Insert Survey Link, and here's my link all set up and ready to go. I just need to go through the normal steps of sending out the email. I can do that. And click Next Step and go through the normal process to send out my survey invitation email. And then people will be able to click on the link and take my survey. Our system will be able to track the normal things it would track in an email. So you'd be able to see who's clicking and who's opening your emails. So let's go into the surveys again. And let's go take a look at some of the results, the information that you can get once your survey has gone out. So I'm going to go in here to a Great Survey. Click on the Reporting tab. And this is going to bring up the responses that I received for my survey. So this is kind of a dashboard page. It shows you an overview of how everyone answered the questions on your survey. So you can go through and take a look and see how many people did answered this as the question, or sorry, answered this question this way. And take a look at all of the information just as a basic overview to see how your survey went. We have everything broken up in little pie charts or in heat maps to show you which answers were more popular than others. I don't know if you can see on your screen, but there are different shades on here. So this, for instance, was the #1 answer. Most people answered this question this way. So this has the dark green color. This one's a lighter green. This is kind of a light gray and even lighter gray and then white. So the less popular the answer is, the less color there is on the heat map. And one of the things you can do is click on the link. So let's go ahead and click on this 50%. And this is now set up a filter for the answers. So all of these answers here, all of these people who responded to my survey said that strawberry was their second favorite ice cream. And then you can also add additional filters. So if I wanted to have some more specific answers or more specific responders to my different questions, I can click Add Filter and then come in here and say, if you could eat ice cream for dinner every day, would you do so? Say yes. Click Search Responses. And so now I've filtered down my responses to these 4 people. So these 4 people ranked strawberry as their second favorite ice cream, and if they could eat ice cream for dinner every day for a year, they would. Now, this is probably not the type of questions that you're going to be asking on your survey, but you could see where this would make it really easy for you to be able to pull out the specific people who are responding to your survey. So again, if you were doing an event survey, you could pull out the people who said that yes, they were interested in coming to your event next year, and if they were planning on traveling to do so. Or if you are having people rank something with your customer support, people who maybe would say, yes, they would recommend using your service, and then also people who would also purchase products from you or something like that. You could easily break down your questions into that type of grouping, and then you can create a list or download this information, and you can even print it if you want to print it. So let's go ahead. If we take a look at individual, you can go through and take a look at how each person responded. Let me go ahead and clear my filters. Otherwise, I'm not going to have anyone to look at. So this is the list. This is everyone who took it. This was obviously a blindfold survey, so all of these are anonymous. If you did traditional, you'd be able to see email, address, first name, and last name of the people who did it. The individual link here will allow you to flip through the individual survey responses for each person who took your survey. And then side by side allows you to compare some questions, how people responded. So let's go ahead and use the same questions we had before. Rank these ice creams in order that you like them. We'll say the people who like strawberry. And if you could eat ice cream every day for a year. Yes. And then we can compare our responses. Whoops. So these are the different responses to these 2 different questions are now side by side on this page. So you can compare how people who answer different questions in a different way side by side. Again, the ice cream may not be the #1 question that you're going to be asking people. Robots are the coolest thing ever. True. So it kind of breaks things up. So 4 of the 12 people said that robots are the coolest thing ever, and 6 of the 12 people said they would eat ice cream every day for a year. And then you can compare the responses and how they differ or how they're very similar. So these are the people who said yes, they'd eat it every day for a year, but these people were split 50-50. So you can compare the responses to all your different questions. Again, another heat map. You can take a look at how everything breaks down for all of your questions. And you can print this page out if you need to share this with somebody. And then I'm going to go ahead and show you crosstab, but I'm going to switch to a different survey to show you that type of reporting. Service survey. Again, go to reporting. Click on crosstab. And this one, please indicate how satisfied you are overall with our support team, and how likely are you to recommend our products to your friends. So these are 2 different questions, And then what this builds is a table showing you the responses to these two different questions. So this makes it, again, really easy for you to see how the different responses compare to each other. So filter 1 is going this way. This is how satisfied are you overall with our support team, and filter 2 going across, how likely are you to recommend our products to your friends. So the people who are very dissatisfied are also very unlikely to recommend the products. And the people who are very satisfied are very likely to do so. And you'll be able to see all of the rankings of the responses in here. This would be a great one to use for things like demographics, for instance. So if you were wanting to compare responses to a question based on where people live, so maybe if you had a question in your survey about where maybe what region in the country people live, you could compare responses based on that. You could do that for gender. So if you had a question asking what the respondent's gender was, you could compare how the different genders answered a particular question. And again, if you had an event, you could ask people if they're likely to return to the event next year, and then also compare maybe the region that they're in, so maybe the distance they travel, they'll be more or less likely to attend. Have them rank speakers maybe that you had at your event and how likely they are to return to the event next year. Again, you could do something with products. So like this one has in here, would you recommend our products? So there's a lot of uses for this particular type of reporting. And again, it's only 2 questions, and you can just compare the responses to just those 2 questions. So that is basically how to get started using our surveys, using templates and how to set up your survey and make some edits, and then the type of reporting that's included. So in order to actually start getting reporting for your survey, you do need to have a survey subscription. So if you notice at the top of my account, I have survey responses available, and that's because there's a survey subscription set up on this account. It's up to you how you want to set up your survey responses. So if I click on Change Subscription, this is going to show me information about surveys. So Tier 1 will give you 1,000 responses a month, and that one's $13.50. And there's up to 4 tiers here. So one of the things to note is that if you're not sure how many people are going to be responding, so this isn't based on how many people you're asking to take your survey, this is how many people you think are going to respond. You're never going to get every single person you invite to take a survey to answer the survey. So you probably want to start on a lower tier and see how the responses go for your survey. If you find that you have a lot of people responding to your survey, you can always change your tier. So you can up your tier in the middle of the month if you want to, so that you'll be able to get all of your responses as they come in. The other option is if you just go over a little bit of your tier. So if I had 1,025 people take my survey in the month, the other option could be to wait until the next month rolls around. It's a monthly subscription. So each month when your subscription renews, you'll be able to see 1,000 people again for this particular tier. So I would be able to wait till the next month rolled around and see the 25 additional people who took my survey if I wanted to wait that long. So you have 2 choices. You can wait, or you can just go ahead and change your subscription right away, and then you'll be able to see the information then. Again, to use this survey as an invitation, you need to make sure you have a list in your account. And one of the things that you might want to do is use our segmentation tool to break up your master list or break up some of the lists that you're using to invite specific people to your survey. It might be just that some people on your mailing list are the ones that really need to take your survey. So there's a few things you can do with that. So with that, I'll go ahead and take any questions if anyone has any questions. The survey or this demo doesn't always get a lot of questions. But while you're typing in your questions, I'm just going to point out that we do have a help section here in this blue navigation bar. And if you click on that, that will take you to our How to Do Everything page. And there is a survey section set up in there, and there are videos that you can watch. And the videos are like 2 minutes long. They're just short videos on how to use different aspects of the survey tool. There's also some text tutorials in there. And we also have help down here. So if you mouse over this need help, you'll be able to contact our support team. You can send in an email. You can give us a call, or we even have excuse me, live chat. So if you click the live chat link, you'll be able to have a chat like using I am if you have a quick question.